Boys, we've got to talk about your mob now, James, the Doggies. Now, if we went back 3 games, we would have thought if anyone outside the top 8 could do it, it's the Doggies. But Manly put mid-30s on them, and then they got absolutely towelled up by the Cowboys. On the back of that, Cameron Ciraldo is very calm. He says, we deserve to be in the finals, and it's a brand new competition. So they need to just put those 2 games to one side, learn from whatever they learnt from being beaten by Manly 2 weeks ago, and put a new plan into action.
I don't know if it's necessarily about putting a new plan into action. I think the way the season began with 2 losses, the way the season ended with 2 losses, but the season as a whole has been beyond most people's expectation. But like Cam says, it is a new competition now. If you'd have offered the Bulldogs 6th and a home final, give me it.
They know what's coming though, Jimmy, right? I mean, surely that Manly will just replicate what they did 2 weeks ago, which is they just banged down the front door. Matt Lodge, Taniela Paseka just overpowered them in that game a couple of weeks ago.
So it's now they know what to expect. Where I think Manly,
they have the cavalry to combat that.
Well,
though, Jimmy.
I think Manly caught them off guard a little bit last time they played in terms of their game plan really did change from a visual point of view. I certainly looked at Manly and I wasn't expecting them to play like that. It is a strength of theirs. Now, one of the things that I look at when I see forward packs line up, okay, what's the advantage that Manly have? It's their size. Now, when you're big people, what does that mean? You have weaknesses, and it's about managing those moments and dragging Manly into some deep water. Because I think the Bulldogs as a team are fitter than the Manly team, but they've got the size advantage over them. So styles make fights. It's an interesting battle to see how this goes. And even if you look at Manly on the weekend just gone, they conceded a lot of line breaks in between, just on the edge of their middle and at their 3 defenders. Now, yes, Tommy Tebojevic will make a difference, and that will reshuffle that back line. But there's pros and cons to playing through the middle. It tires your middle forwards out a lot quicker. Now, Cherry Evans, for me, rescued the situation. I thought the Dogs were starting to come back in the second half. They almost felt ambushed. But this is going to be a completely different game. There's so much more pressure on the occasion. I don't know if Manly can play that well. Again, they were absolutely sensational. Yeah. They nailed their game plan. Everything that needed to go well did go well for them. So, but the Bulldogs will be looking at going, well, we know what to expect now. We've got a system here that we know works. We might just have to fine-tune it. So instead of expecting the shift, you now become that little bit tighter. Because teams have known this against the Dogs all year and failed to execute it.
They did it in periods in the start of that second half when they were coming back a bit and then putting Tom in his right-hand pocket, the Bulldogs' left-hand pocket where he doesn't like to come out of. They can put him there as often as they can. They can go after their back 5 and make their big fellas get back behind the ball where they're not coming onto the footy as much and not giving them set starts as well. That was the other thing because they were giving penalties away and conceding points. They kept giving the big Manly pack set starts. And that meant that they were getting a rest and they were coming at them again. So if they can get some grind footy going, I actually think the last 2 weeks is the best prep the Bulldogs can have. Because I really do, because I feel like everybody is starting to say, see, I told you so. Yeah, and I think that's playing right into their hands. And I think that's been their motivation all year. And that motivation is just going to ramp up again now. And they no doubt they rested some players on the weekend. They said, nah, we're getting ourselves ready for next week. We don't care where we play. If it's home or away, we know who we're playing and we're getting ready for that game. There's 4 blokes who've barely played this year that turned up on the weekend. So I think you'll see the Dogs that we saw a few weeks ago this weekend.
Just going back to that Manly game as well, probably the worst thing to happen to the Dogs was Reid Marnie scoring before Manly touched the ball. I think it just it's not necessarily a good way to start a game.
It's interesting where this is like a bit of a coaching situation where Siebes obviously worked so well for him 2 weeks ago. Canterbury know what's going to think, they know what's coming. So does Siebes then tinker with things so that they don't see the same thing? Do you know what I mean? Like rather than throwing the same thing at them, which the Dogs will be expecting them to come with the same thing, do you change a few things up? Not on a grand scale, but just some subtle things you've got to change because just to maybe catch them off guard. I don't know if you can. You know better than me, JD.
I just think it's the Dogs will be sitting there, and Cameron spoke about it after the game. We know our game works. And I think it will work, and I think it does work. And if they can get some field position, we saw on the weekend, the right edge for Manly is in all sorts defensively. And if they can get some footy down there, they scored off a set start down there, play one, shifted it and scored, and they scored again there later in the game as well. So they know where there's vulnerabilities, but finals they're about you getting your best game on and about doing everything you can to be your best version of yourself and trusting what you do. And there'll be one or two little tinkers you might do in terms of trick plays, but overall, the habits that you've created throughout the season, that's what's going to stand you the test when you get into the finals. And Canterbury have built some good habits, and the Bulldogs should be comfortable going into this game, but so have Manly. So it's, like I said before, I think it's a great matchup for round one.
Well, the obvious thing is, though, Reedy, Manly are a different side if Turbo.
Oh, completely different.
So where are we at with Turbo?
Well, I went to the captain's call this morning with the NRL, and Daly Cherry Evans was there, and Daly said unequivocally he will play. And I think, and Sieb said the same thing after the game in the weekend. Now, he won't be 100%, but apparently, though I haven't played with an AC joint, but apparently you're okay to play with them a week or two later. They've had a couple of blokes who've already done it this year.
Over 50 soccer, you'd be sweet.
Yeah.
The reality is he's got a grade 3, they said.
Yep.
And that's as bad as it gets for an AC, right? And you can play with it. It doesn't inhibit you in terms of functionality, but it's painful. It is very painful. So if they can get some heat on him early, put him in pockets, make it tough, get some weight into that shoulder, all of a sudden you're starting to feel that pain. And that's up to the doggies now. They know he's coming in injured. He's not going to be 100%, but he's still a class footballer. But if they can get some heat on him and go, righto, you did what you did last time. This time it's going to be a different story. And that's what we love about finals. Because we've seen these matchups and we say, all right, let's go again.
Just him being back in the team will lift that entire side. And then obviously you mentioned his work at the back, counting numbers and organising defensive lines. I mean, it makes a dramatic change.
Huge.
Right?
It was on the weekend. It was noticeable, and I thought Kohler did some really good things with the footy, but defensively he got his numbers wrong a few times, and he was out of position a couple of times, and that takes time. And he's not been playing a lot of fullback, but Tom will own that, and he'll own that middle third. That try where they drop Nickera back inside and the middles aren't moving. Tom's all over that. He's pushing blokes to get off their line and get forward. So he'll make a massive difference to the team, not just what he'll do.
But the reason I asked about him particularly because I'd heard that he was going to play as well, obviously. Yeah. But if he's not 100%, if he's not even 80%, and if he goes out there and re-injures himself and he can't play, well, then they're twice as rooted.
Maroon, there's so many players that will be getting painkiller injections that aren't 100% come this time of year. There'll be a queue out the door for the Manly Seagulls, doctor's office, as will the Bulldogs, as will the other 6 teams who are left in the competition. It's just that time of the year, shoulders especially, there'll be a lot of... And well, what are you supposed to do? Not play? Like, you're playing. It's finals. He's in.
Yeah. And it's not as if you can cover him with players on the bench, and if he goes down and he can't finish the game, they can shuffle things around. It doesn't you obviously lose a really good player and you lose a bloke off the interchange bench, but they can compensate for him.
What about Saab? Is he playing?
I don't think he's in it. No, I don't. I'd be surprised if he plays again this year.
He's a loss,
JD.
Saab. Yeah, big loss because he turns half chances into 4-pointers every time. So, they'll definitely miss him.